Bleach is back. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to get a chance to talk about Bleach again. I have made a few videos in the past when it was announced that the anime was making a return to finish the Blood War arc, and now today we get a one-shot manga to get us ready for all the upcoming Bleach hype. So right off the bat, the manga did not disappoint. Right from the start with the opening panel, we don't know who's talking just yet, but is going into a story about how he loved these two fish, and when the one passed away, the smaller remaining fish seemed lonely, but after that day, the smaller fish started to grow larger and was flourishing more and more. Then we get another panel that says, "It was good that the larger one died." What? I actually had to reread that page because that final line threw me completely off. Because essentially how I interpret that panel is for the old to die off so the young can flourish. In other words, whoever this person is feels that the older generations keep holding back the younger ones, which I think definitely has some truth to it. We see this in many things like sports. The older, more established players still get more game minutes than the younger guy, and finally when the older player retires, we finally get to see the younger player spread his wings and show what he's truly made of. Other examples can be managers not retiring and staying on too long and being completely out of touch with what people want today, and preventing younger people trying to climb the corporate ladder since they are just holding on to their cushion jobs in those more powerful positions. No matter how you look at it, there's always an example of this situation, but it can work both ways. Sometimes the younger person isn't ready to flourish just yet, and if given the opportunity too soon, it could backfire and crash and burn. Anyway, it's just the first page, but it really struck me as something incredibly interesting, as it's a reflection point, and my gut at this point is reading this line telling me it's Aizen. The next panel we see Orihime talking to Kon and thanking him for playing with Kazui. But wait, who's Kazui again? And why does he look like Ichigo? Did Orihime and Ichigo have a kid? Well, if you remember the last chapter of the manga, chapter 686, they in fact did do a time skip, and Ichigo and Orihime had a kid who is Kazui. Kazui immediately starts to sneak out the window and is stopped by Kon, but as he leaps out of the window, we see he has already some impressive Ryatsu abilities as he summons these flying fish. And if you recall from the final chapter, we did get to see Kazui touch the final piece of Yuha, which seems to have given Kazui a power boost as his kimono is made up of Yuha remnants while looking like the Soul Reaper outfit. We see he meets up with the spirit, and he obviously already has great control of his Ryatsu ability because he takes the spirit to a shrine, and as we watch Kazui unleash this powerful ability that seems to be some kind of portal. Now, the next panel, we have a series of random letters, and it spells Ach O these Om L. What could that possibly mean? Those are clearly not real words. Well, if we look at the very next panel, we also get a similar looking page, but it says Blah and Bra for he. So I figured if we took these two pages and flipped them around and put them together, maybe this will form a proper sentence. And sure enough, I was correct. But when we put these two pages next to one another, we get Bleach No Breaths from Hell. I love pages like this. It makes you have to put just that little bit of extra work to decode the message. So I'm loving how Kubo has handled this so far, giving us tons to eat just from this chapter alone. And we are not even halfway through yet. In terms of No Breaths from Hell, I'm wondering if this means Kazui has the ability to open portals to Hell, as his portal did look more on the evil side, but not so much to go off of right now, so let's just press forward from here. We move on to Soul Society, where we get to meet up with Ikkaku, and he seems to be training Ichika, which, if you guys forgot, Ichika is the daughter of Rukia and Renji, and she definitely has that Renji spirit, but also is pretty funny. She says stuff like, "You've gotten better, teacher," as if she's implying that he's weaker than her. He tells her to just shut up and reaffirms he was always better than her, but it's stuff like that I find hilarious, as you know this is going to be a really funny character moving forward. She constantly tries to catch Ikkaku off guard, but it never works, and Ikkaku does mention Kazui, and she gets flustered saying they are only friends. So I'm sure this will get picked up if they continue the manga from here, and we possibly get to watch them get older together, which I guess is implying some kind of love relationship, possibly. In the next panel, we get to see Yumi Chika, who I did not recognize at first with his new design, but I definitely like it over his previous one as it makes him look more mature. We finally get to see Renji and Rukia as they are talking to Ichigo, inviting him to come to Soul Society for the Kanzo Resai, which is a hollow killing festival to honor the fallen captains. I have to mention this because Rukia seems very different now. She has much longer hair, but her personality seems to have shifted completely. I don't know if I'm just not remembering this correctly, but I could have sworn she was more stoic and serious most of the time. Now though, she's just constantly cracking jokes and being goofy. This isn't a complaint, just an observation to the fact that she seems to have her life all together now. She's married to Renji, she's a captain, and she has a kid in Ichigo, so I think all of that and not being in war times has really lightened her up, which is actually cool to see some characters' personalities change and grow. We also get bombarded by Captain Kurosuchi, who, like always, has some kind of weird design that makes utterly no sense, but he does help push this chapter forward to round up all the captains and vice captains using projection technology so they can get to the ceremony. I'm loving the banter as Ichigo meets up with the vice captains when they come to the living world, as they just want to get the ceremony done so they can go out and drink. But as I say that, we see that Ichigo sneaked into the living world, and when she looks up to where her dad and Ichigo are, there is a huge hollow behind them, but they don't seem to sense it at all. And as Ichigo yells out to them, it's already too late. Renji goes flying into the buildings, and one of the vice captains is stabbed through the stomach. I have to again give credit to Kubo here. I really like how things went from 0 to 100 in the matter of a single panel, because despite how powerful Ichigo and the others are, it provides an immediate threat for something they didn't bargain for. All these weird looking hollows show up, but they are definitely different from the hollows that we knew. They have these rings located on different parts of their body, where the hollows that we know had the hole in the center of their chest. Ikako also mentions they are not ordinary hollows and don't have spiritual pressure, but I don't think that's quite right. As we know, Ichika could sense them, so I'm wondering what type of unique power she possesses that allows her to sense them while nobody else can. One of the new vice captains that we get introduced to, Atao, is unable to speak, but seems to have a way with animals as they gravitate toward him, but we get to see him unleash his Shikai, which at first kind of looks like Renji's Shikai, but instead of it being an extended blade, it seems to be paper linked together. But when he says the word hawk, all those flying pieces of paper turn into hawks and completely cannibalize the hollow. I have to say, he immediately goes to the top of my list as one of the coolest characters so far, and with only a few panels made me really like him. Renji did say that he can't talk, but I'm thinking he can't talk because speaking is his true weapon, and his words somehow become reality. It reminds me of the character from Jujutsu Kaisen, Toge, when he says a command that completely shuts down the opponent. So I'm thinking Atao has a similar type of ability and can call out animals for assistance. We are also introduced to another vice captain, Yuyu Yayahara. Let me do that again. Yuyu Yayahara, and Renji mentions she is obsessed with Gyaru, and for anyone not familiar with Gyaru, it's a Japanese transliteration of the English word gal, aka girl. It's a type of Japanese fashion subculture, but it's basically an over-exaggerated form of fashion. They will wear a ton of makeup, tan skin, and over-the-top colorful clothes, and either dye their hair or wear wigs. You would have definitely noticed its biggest popularity in the early 2000s, but it's since been kind of declining. So anyway, this new character Yuyu plays off as the over-the-top cutesy character, but then when we see her face a hollow, she becomes a full-blown psychopath, as you can see her taste for death as she shreds the hollow apart. It seems her Shikai forms into her nails as they essentially become bare teeth. Then it gets weird because an old vassal lord shows up that was previously defeated by Kurosuchi, but it seems he was casted into hell, where you can essentially remove your hollow yoke and you're no longer bound to your flesh. He has gone completely mad and went right for Renji's daughter. But in typical Ichigo fashion, he shows up in the nick of time to save Renji. Also, the panel where he yells at Ichigo, "I'm going to kill you," and Ichigo just responds, "Who the hell are you?" reminded me of the scene in Endgame with Wanda and Thanos.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
You will.
Back in Soul Society, these black-looking liquids seem to be all over the place. Shinsui mentions it's phosphatoplasm from hell. So this is the part of the chapter where we get a huge dump of information. Shisui goes into great detail explaining the spirit class. The short version of it was that normal level Shinigami would be the 20th class Reishi, while vice captains would be 5th or 4th class, and those greater than 3rd class are captains. He goes on to mention Shinigami bodies are made up of Reishi, and when they pass on, their bodies turn back into Reishi. But anyone above 3rd class has spiritual pressure too dense, and so the Kanzo Reisai has a ceremony to allow the Reishi to be returned back to Soul Society. Though there's more to this story that Shisui tells us, and this is where things get incredibly interesting. He tells us that the Reishi above 3rd class never actually returns to Soul Society because they simply can't do it. So instead, the ceremony they were about to perform for their fallen captains, in actuality, is to send their spirits to hell. This just blew my mind apart. Captains who have served Soul Society their entire life are repaid by being thrown to hell. It's absolutely maddening. We learn more and more about Soul Society, just how corrupt the system truly is, and you can completely understand the rebellions that took place over the previous arcs. When you see it from the other perspective, you start to wonder who truly is the bad guy here. Was it Yuha, or is it everyone within Soul Society? And that to me is where Bleach is heading in the future, which has me insanely excited to see where this all goes. Shinsui isn't totally sure if this is actually true, he just kind of pieced it together right there, but Rukia is in total shock. Ichigo is also learning about this as the fallen Vasto Lord tells him the very same thing, confirming Shinsui's suspicions are correct. Though that quickly gets interrupted as he gets suddenly stabbed in the chest from someone within hell itself, and we can clearly see the sword that pierced him. And sure enough, we have confirmation it's none other than Jusido Yukitake. What the I don't even know what to say here. I'm at a loss for words. The fact that Yukitake is behind all this and possibly one of the ones starting this war with hell is shocking. But honestly, this has to be some of Kubo's best writing I've honestly ever seen. We do get 2 final panels again, splitting the image, but once we put them together, it says Bleach New Breaths from Hell, also showing a picture of Ichigo's kid. So I think in fact I was correct, because at the beginning of the video, I did say it looked like he was opening a portal to hell, and this pretty much just confirms it. The fact that hell has all these former captains who seem to be also making their way back to Soul Society, which I would have to assume for revenge, because that is truly disgusting that they throw away their fallen friends into the depths of hell like that. That is just... I can't even put words together just how that is. This is honestly some of Kubo's best writing. It truly creates such an amazing dynamic for the next arc. You have Soul Society who have blood on their hands when they are supposed to be the good guys, but truly aren't for what they've done. Now you have former captains possibly wanting revenge for what has happened to them, and you have captains like Yukitake possibly leading them, which is a huge problem for the Gotai 13. This also means Mamamoto would be one of the people on the other side of that door to hell, and who knows who else is there from centuries of them doing this horrific act. Wow, Kubo, I have to give you the biggest props because honestly, you have me completely hooked back into Bleach again. You truly are showing why you are one of the GOATs and why Bleach was one of the big 3 back in the day. I am wondering though how Kazui and Ichika play a role in all of this, because Ichika was the only one who could sense the Hell Hollows, and Kazui clearly has a connection to that world, since he has a piece of Yuha's power and can open a portal to hell as well. The fact that the Gotai 13 will possibly have to fight their fallen friends is going to be a psychological warfare, and they will have to feel absolutely guilty over it, because their anger is completely justified for what has happened to them. I'm again just blown away Bravo, Kubo, you are the man. I was already excited that Bleach was back and the anime is returning to finish the Blood War arc, but this also now means Bleach is truly back, meaning the manga will be continuing and we get new arcs moving forward. So make sure if you are still watching this, tell your friends about the new One-Shot Manga and get them to read it, because the more hype around Bleach will mean the more likely chance that the manga is going to get picked up and we get more stories going forward. Bleach fans, I only have one thing to say. It's about time. If you enjoyed this, consider subscribing. Hitting the like button is also a huge help, and click the bell to be notified when I drop my next video, which is already in the works as we speak. Bleach is back. See you in the next video.